because there's an international bureaucracy controlling all international revenue and transfers called Unijoint, and a bank called the Bank of International Settlements, there are certain bits of legislature and law that we're not made aware of, and they are international, whether the government likes it or not, which is why they're scrambling to try and change laws, so-called laws, revolving around taxes and economic structure. Allow Ken O'Keefe to explain. We have a moral duty to stop paying taxes. And it's lawful. We have a moral and ethical duty.
You couldn't pay me to be non-violent if I were born in Gaza. I would be fighting, no doubt about it. Satan is loving this, and the leaders who we have in these high offices, for those of you who know a guy named Jeffrey Epstein, yeah, right, he's only the tip of an iceberg. He's nothing. He's a low-level player. Do you know the man behind him? There's a man behind him. As I think everybody can finally start to understand what they've been telling us in the news, that doesn't really square with the truth and reality. I know what they told us about Palestine. I mean, how Palestine might as well have been terrorist. Palestine terrorist. You know, that is the way that the Palestinians have been presented by a media that is controlled by a particular group who happens to also control our politicians, the media, Hollywood. They've got their grubby hands on all sorts of business, including, and you know, with young people here, want to be careful, but the most ungodly things happening to our children in huge numbers daily all around this world. And I think, you know, as unpopular as this truth may be, we have failed as men in this world to protect the most cherished and most beautiful of all, our children, the innocent ones. And meanwhile, a dear friend of mine made a film called Pedophiles in Parliament, and well, you can imagine she paid a heavy price for that too. The truth is indeed the most dangerous job of all, and wasn't it a man named Jesus whom I love so much, who has inspired me and who took me to Palestine as fate would have it, Jesus of Nazareth, my favorite quote of all time. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. I don't believe any more true words could ever have been spoken. In fact, when I die, which is going to happen at some point, on my tombstone I want, truth is God and God is truth. There is no demarcation between God and truth. It is Satan, Dajjal, who plays in the area of illusion and lies. God will never lie to you. Your heart, if it's connected to Source, which has been my experience, if you listen to your heart and you're truly connected to Source, here's what's going to happen. Your heart's going to tell you to do this, and your head's going to be like, no, that's crazy. You can't do that. Don't do that. You know? And this is what I've done. I took that path less traveled by and decided to do a whole bunch of crazy things in terms of the way normal, sane people see things. I have a feeling it's getting feedback just there we go. The truth will take you to places that aren't going to be pleasant much of the time. In fact, what I have learned in my life is that the most unpleasant truths of all, the ones that hurt to your core, the ones about you, the ones that demand for you to pay attention to who you are and what you are doing. And even the dear Sheikh here and I, we're both not these men that you see today. We were young boys at some point. We were making mistakes and doing what the youth do. But along the way, we had the wherewithal to recognize that we made mistakes. And for me, the Marine Corps was a mistake, and yet it wasn't. And I'll get into that briefly, and then we'll get into Palestine and where we're going with that. When I joined the Marine Corps, I believed my nation was the greatest. Freedom and democracy and all that kind of stuff. Sounds crazy now, but when you grew up in the 70s and 80s like I did in Southern California, we all believe that. It's called indoctrination, mind control. You uncritically accept that which everyone else is repeating around you like an echo chamber, and rather than truth, you seek popularity or approval from your peers. I never was so much into that. I was always a little bit more intrigued by knowledge and history, and what I was taught in school didn't square with what I learned in reality. This is indoctrination. There are so many subjects I could say tonight. In fact, one of the books that I'm finally going to write is the truth, quote, anti-Semitic. And this brings up all sorts of minefields here. First off, the Palestinians are Semites. I think most of you probably know that. Those who speak the Semitic languages of Hebrew and Arabic, who come from the Semitic regions, are indeed Semites. We're getting that feedback, are we? So, how much power do you have if you control language? That's quite a bit of power. And they're changing the definition of words now today as well. Even the word progressive, which used to mean something not bad. Today it means we accept transsexualism, we accept the homosexual agenda that gives us Gay Pride Month. We don't have Gay Pride Day, we have Gay Pride Month. How many other people should we be revering within our society and maybe even give it a month? But in our woke, progressive, secularized society, we're going to give that particular group a month. This shows an agenda which I think any godly person is going to recognize.
His dude is cool. He's awesome.
At some point, whether we call it Dajjal or whether we call it Satan, those who are in power, they worship Satan and they pay homage to their deity, and they do it in ways that would be so abhorrent to a sane human being that it becomes really difficult to understand what's going on in the world. If I have advice for anybody who wishes to understand this world, it would be that you need to get out of the perspective of a sane and natural human being, a healthy human being, because nothing will make sense if you look at it that way. What you need to do is enter the mind of a psychopath, of a sociopath, of a narcissist, and understand that these people, what you would find absolutely abhorrent, they love. So, in the most graphic examples, like for instance the genocide we see playing out in Palestine today, for anyone who is saying it makes us sick, even though we're not directly connected to it, we are all being affected by it. I've seen this even amongst the secular sections of society. Walking in the street, you can see that the demeanor of the people has changed. It's a lower vibration. It's less happy existence, even though they do their best to disconnect and pretend as if they have nothing to do with it. But here's the truth. This is an absolute truth. And it's part of why I'm leaving this country and I'm leaving the West. Because I know when I go out and buy a cup of coffee, some of that is tax. And some of that tax is going to pay for genocide. And that, according to Islam, isn't it one of the first rule in terms of dealing with the oppressed and the oppressor, the tyrant? The first duty is to not participate in the oppression. Well, that's kind of hard to do unless you plan on buying nothing in this country. Because in some little way, we're all funding this genocide. And that's a truth that ain't going to feel so good, but it is what it is. There are solutions to this, by the way, and I want to get into those things. You know, if we don't do these basic things, we will be judged. And I think that's the beauty of speaking to a Muslim audience, or largely Muslim, and I'm sure not everybody here is, but, you know, if you have effectively rejected God and taken the secular path because you resent religion, you have already invited Satan into your heart. And that satanic seduction can happen in a myriad of ways. We obviously see it with money, we see it with power, we see it with sex, we see it with drugs, we see it with all of the things that a healthy society would reject. But of course, Satan is loving it. Satan is loving this. And the leaders who we have in these high offices, for those of you who know a guy named Jeffrey Epstein, yeah, right, he's only the tip of an iceberg. He's nothing. He's a low-level player. Do you know the man behind him? There's a man behind him, Les Wexner, a Jewish billionaire who lives in Ohio. That's where we start getting closer to the power. Now, if you are an immoral person, then you're qualified to be a prime minister or a parliamentarian. If you are a sane, healthy, whole human being, you're not qualified. You know why? Because you're not going to choose to get on the plane known as the Lolita Express and fly off to Epstein's Island and go do things that no godly person would do with underage boys and girls. But those who are in power, they do those things, and it is on videotape, and if it ain't that, it's taking a bribe. These are the facts that we could have faced long ago if we were really serious, and it would compel us to do something more than we've done. Because protests, and I've gone to a couple of them in the last couple of weeks, listen, I get it, I appreciate it, but have they stopped this genocide? Did they stop the invasion of Iraq? Did they stop all of these wars? Libya, Syria, Sudan, the forgotten genocide over there. Have we stopped any of this? No, we haven't. Have we done as much as we could do?
For those who want to ask questions about where I got my money from and did I get it from Gina Ryan Hard or did... It was my money. That money come out of my pocket. Says the woman wearing a wiretap. Whoop. Jesus, what have we done here? Just think about it, people. Think about it. Like I said, I went to the One Nation Party launch. I spoke about how they like, seriously, Lee Hansen showed me her wiretap running up. Showed me. As I went into a certain topic of conversation, showed me a wiretap. Where'd you get the $240,000 from?
No, we haven't. Are we going to start doing what we can do? I hope so, and I pray so. I tell you one thing we can do, and I will get into the Gaza thing now in Palestine. Taxes. I have a dear friend and brother named Chris Coverdale, and I also know others. There is a agenda and there is a movement right now for those of you who wish to withhold your money and do so lawfully, as actually the highest laws provide you. Not only do they provide you an ability not to pay taxes, but you actually have a positive duty not to pay taxes when we can establish that those taxes are being used to commit genocide, war crimes.
Hello, people. Hello. What have I been telling you? Well, I've been telling you, as long as you keep voting and you keep going to work and you keep validating genocide, your money is funding genocide. It makes you complicit. It makes you the party to the crime. Sorry to say. Withdraw your consent. Withdraw your validation. Will it suck? Yep. Sucks to be you. Sucks to be them.
crimes, crimes against humanity, torture, you name it. That's what our taxes are paying for. Literally. Meanwhile, we're 7 trillion pounds in debt. Who do you think we owe that to? And guess who's going to flip the bill for that? The young ones. They're the ones who are going to flip the bill for that. That's pretty darn shameful. We can, and there is efforts, and please, if you want, I will give you the information. You can put your money that would be paid into taxes into a trust. That money goes into the trust. For all that put the money of the taxes into the trust, we then serve the government with a notice notifying them that currently the way that they are utilizing those taxes is not in line with international law, specifically international treaty law. Treaties are contracts between nations.
If you've got heartburn, try this Gaviscon chewing gum.
Gaviscon works fast to neutralize acid in the stomach.
Tastes good.
New, great tasting Gaviscon chewing gum.
Until such time as you provide full assurance that none of that money is going to be used to commit genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, we are withholding. When you provide absolute assurance and proof that these monies will be used for the benefit of the people that the taxes are being paid from, because we got a lot of problems here. You notice the homeless people out there? Is this a rich country or is this a poor country? I see less homeless people in poor countries than I do this country. And America, same thing. We withhold our taxes. Guess how quickly they will be in order? Real quick. Because we have the power. One last little thing in Gaza. This $5 note right here. This is different from this $1 note here. That $1 note, there's two things about it. It has a green seal, and at the top, although you can't see it, it says Federal Reserve Note. What is the Federal Reserve? Well, it ain't federal. It has nothing to do with the government. It's a private bank. Who owns that bank? Well, we're not technically allowed to know, but it's the Rothschilds and associated stooges that own the Federal Reserve private bank. Guess how much my birth nation is in debt right now? $34 trillion. You would have thought at 1 trillion, then I said, okay, wait, we're going to have to cut you. No, apparently not. Because that's just going to be paid by our children. John F. Kennedy issued this one with a red seal. And it also says United States note at the top. Guess what happened to John F. Kennedy? Yeah, he was dead. There was another man who outlawed usury. Not even allowed to talk about it. And I'm going right into Palestine after this. And I say this because there is a direct connection between World War II and Palestine. And I have speeches, and I've read books, and I've studied, and I want the truth, regardless of how unpopular it is.
Nazis.
But there was a world leader who outlawed usury. You might know him. His name is Adolf. He also confronted the Jewish power, who declared war on him in 1933. Let me just see, out of anybody in the audience, how many of you know that in 1933, Judea declared war on Germany? 14 million Jews of the world unite, calling for the destruction of Germany, and also other Jewish leaders openly calling for the killing Amalek style. Remember the Amalek quotes that we've heard in Gaza? Well, imagine if you were German and had done nothing wrong to the bankers, in fact were victims of the bankers, and you were suffering under a Weimar Germany Republic where your money was worth nothing, and now they're declaring war on you because your leader is declaring an intent to get out from that banking system. Who told you your history about Palestine? Who's been telling you that? Has it been accurate? Has any of that been accurate? Why would you think that anything you've been told about World War II or the Holocaust or any of that would be accurate? Please, look into it for yourself. There is a connection. And had we not won, by the way, that war where our good friend and ally, Joe Stalin, who murdered 40 million. 40 million. Even if we square that with the 6 million, it makes Adolf look like a good guy. I mean, 40 million, 6 million. Neither one is acceptable, but I'll take 6 over 40. Joe Stalin, our good buddy, and FDR's Uncle Joe, as he referred to, How did communism and Western Christian America and England come together? So we got communism outlawing God, destroying all the churches, keeping the synagogue standing, making the first law of the Soviet Union anti-Semitism punishable by death. That's coming here, by the way. If we all continue to be asleep at the wheel, they're already doing these hate speech laws. The fact that I'm even out and alive is all praise to God for that. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be here. And that's how you become fearless. I serve one master, and my master tells me to do the opposite of what these fake leaders are trying to intimidate us into doing. I don't care what the price is. I'm happy and I'm good, and I will die with my boots on. Gaza. I've lived there. Palestine, West Bank. I've lived there too. I've gone through those checkpoints and I've seen the indignities that the Palestinians deal with firsthand. I tell you, the first thing that amazed me, stunned me, was how do these people not become hateful? How do they remain so nonviolent? Really, overwhelmingly so. It ain't because they're cowards, I can tell you that. All we need to do is to see those kids with a rock in hand throwing it at tanks to tell us that it's not cowardice. But they are facing an evil that has been facilitated, enabled, and financed by all of our governments. All of our governments. And they face them, and they do so without hate. They've inspired me, although I have said 1,000,000 times, and I'll say it again, you couldn't pay me to be nonviolent if I were born in Gaza. I would be fighting, no doubt about it. And I would like to think that maybe I would have been able to keep hate out of my heart. I don't have hate. I pity my enemies because I know at the end of the day they will pay. In this life or the next, but I'd like to make it this one, quite frankly. I'm in touch with my family in Gaza. Every time I get a message from them, I know this could be the last. I've been able to send a few $1,000s out to them, even before actually I was doing something to help them out, and going back 16 years, but I mean, over a year ago I was sending some money, and then October 7th happened. Apparently that's where history starts, on October 7th, or so we're told. And I tell you, it's saving their life right now. Literally. Sugar, I was told sugar, $27 for a kilogram. That was like 2 months ago. They're in Weimar, Germany right now, by the way. So are we. You noticed inflation going up? Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. In Gaza and Palestine, here's the agenda. Short version. The Rothschilds started purchasing Jerusalem back in the 1800s, in the early 1800s. Fact. Absolute fact. They had a plan going way back. Way back. Now, Jewish agents within Russia, and also largely based in New York, are the ones that came up with this idea known as Zionism. And Zionism and communism were born in the 1800s. And if you actually listen to Jewish historians and honest philosophers amongst the tribe, they will tell you that they're Judaism, communism, and Zionism, same thing. There's different versions, but it's the same agenda, at least in the modern sense. Now, the dear Sheikh here is going to explain things that go above and beyond, and I love the fact that he's finishing, because I can tell you a bunch of dark things about where we're going, and they are. But I remain optimistic. For a different reason. Although I'm not secular, I've always had God in my life, but he's had a bigger presence in my later years, because my resentment for the Catholic Church at a young age sort of kind of kept me away a little bit. But the Sheikh is coming at it from Islamic episcatology perspective, and as he will lay it out very clearly, these things that are being discussed from that perspective, many have already come to be known and true. What's coming, I'm very happy about. I'm very happy to think that we can actually make this world right. In fact, it's my mission, a better world. I get to retire when we have a better world and our children are safe and everybody has an opportunity to live and flourish as I was so blessed to do. But until such time, I will work until the end of my days. If I get to retire, I'm going to go surfing, hang out in the sun, enjoy my family, and do what all sane people would do. But until such time, I'm in a war and will continue to be so. And who is more in a war than the people of Palestine? These people are representing what I consider to be a both poetic and ironic lesson once again. Wasn't it Jesus of Nazareth who paid this heavy price for speaking truth to power 2,000 years ago? And I know this is the beauty of Islam and Christianity, and boy, they want to drive a wedge between us, don't they? They really do. They want us fighting each other, and if we want to be chumps, we'll play into that game.
I'm a school principal, East Charlton Primary. We're actually trying to get our daughter in there just a little outside the catchment area. Anything you could do?
She said, is there anything you could do?
Know the homes in the school catchment with Domain.
We've worked hard for our savings.
But we felt it wasn't working hard enough for us.
Hello. So we decided to invest in the
What do you think communists like Scott Challen and Pauline Hanson, Rick Bosey, they're communists. John Wilson, he'll tell you he's a communist to your face. What do you think they want you protesting, rallying and carrying on? Stops us from solving the problem, doesn't it? They are controlled opposition. They just are. I can say they're not, they're black and blue. Look what they do. Just watch what they do. Here you go. Look at what they do and forget what they say. And even more to the point, notice that they actually don't do anything. You're giving them money to do nothing except put on a show that costs them nothing to put on with a webcam. They tell you they're doing stuff. What? Where's the receipts? I've already proven that there is no Australia 1 Tasmania. They had a barbecue once. Took in a little bit of money. And half the people that went there were fucking cops. How do I know? I was there.
The Palestinians are showing the world what it is to be a whole, healthy human being. The love, the dignity, and the absolute resilience and strength in the face of this satanic agenda is something so inspiring. And it seems like the Palestinians are indeed the real chosen ones, ironically, to teach the rest of us what it is. You know, do we need our child to be blown to bits to know how that would feel? Do we? And what would you do if your child was blown to bits or carried away screaming and you know that that child is going to be violated? And what would you do? Why do we need it to happen to our kids? I know what would happen to me. I know if hate could enter my heart, yes, that would probably be the way. This is happening to their kids. This is happening to millions of kids around the world. But Palestine is teaching us more than anything. What is the agenda? I'll tell you what their agenda is. Greater Israel. Greater Israel. They have a plan. You got to give them credit, by the way. You know what? While they multiculturalized us into a divided state where we've lost our identity to such a large degree, they have weakened us. But they have maintained their bloodlines, they maintain their culture, and they maintain their unity.
Ha! Scott Challen, eh? Math ain't mathin'. The math just ain't mathin'. I don't know about you, but I'm proud of our culture. What fucking culture? We don't have one, you fuckwit. Sorry, Scott pisses me off. because I see right through him. I see right through you, Scott. You are a piece of shit. Come here and say that, he'd say. You don't need to. I already know it. But people see it. Those who have eyes to see it. You might not think so. Why? Because you're all that in a bag of chips. You're ex-military. Sucks to be you. Poor you. Fancy having that mindset. You're a broken man. Proud of the culture. Jacinta Price. Trying to tell Aboriginals to forget about the culture. The only culture this country has is Aboriginal culture. Otherwise, it's football, meat pies, kangaroos and trade unions. There used to be a union for Holden cars, but we don't have Holden cars, do we? That was just to see if MAU dealing drugs through the Painters and Dockers Union. Dropping drugs off the side of ships for the tugboats to pick up. Do you reckon Lindsay Fox knows all about that? Didn't he owns half of Melbourne Port? Chaz Kelly owns the other half? They've got control of the docks. They've got control of what comes in and out of the country and in and out of the states. They've got control of everything that crosses the Bass Strait, those two. Why do you think they've got so much money? I remember Chaz Kelly was broke once. Flat broke. That far in debt that a man from Port Sorell by the name of Barney Bean, Rodney Bean's dad, Debbie Bean's dad, local Lions Club leader, Freemason, bought a boat off Chaz. I believe it was white and yellow, speedboat, because debt collectors came to liquidate Chaz, a little yard he had in East Emport. Next thing you know, Chaz Kelly wins Tats Lotto, not once but twice, and then he's got 2 sprint cars, and isn't he married to Lindsay Fox's daughter? Just saying. Ricardo Bosey's right there. Tats Lotto's rigged. He'd
And
know.
they control the banks and the money, and that helps out an awful lot. You have to give them credit for that. They do stick together. Their agenda, which again was laid out in the Zionist plan, Theodore Herzl, the father of Israel, as he predicted he would be, their agenda is not for Palestine. That's just the starting point. So, of course, they need to eliminate the only lawful claimant to the actual land known as historic Palestine. So how do they do? Well, we see how they do that, don't we? If they're not killing them outright, making their Gaza, which is all the refugees from proper Palestine, a lot of them, coming to Gaza, and then the West Bank, as we see, which is hideous. Several hundred been killed there since October 7th. Never mind all the things that happen in the prisons, the violations and whatnot. This agenda of Greater Israel only starts with the Palestinians. The end goal is from the 2 rivers, right? The River Euphrates, down to the River Nile, everything in between, including Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. This is their plan. Now, this is a psychopath's plan, and once again, I remind you, if you want to understand the world, enter the mind of a psychopath. It's a great book, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I highly recommend it. Know your enemy.
Oh yeah.
If you don't know your enemy, you're really not looking good. As a Marine, I know tactics. You need to know your enemy. They intend to affect this, and the next empires is not... America's done. I mean, I tried my best to sound the alarm for my birth nation, but oh my God, they're so infiltrated. The enemy is so far inside the gate. Communism is already, it's not even the back door, it's right up in the front door. stumbling Joe Biden. I mean, oh my God, is this the leader of my nation of 340 million people? And what's our alternative? A guy named Donnie Trump, who just approved this huge amount of aid, 90 billion to Ukraine and Israel. Great. Two sides of the same coin. We, America, is being sacrificed, and it's our own damn fault. We had the writing on the wall, we ignored it. And we're being sacrificed, and the intention is for Greater Israel to be the seat of power. And of course, they want that Temple Mount, as they call it. They want that. They're digging those tunnels underneath. A lot of you probably know about that, right? Digging the tunnels. They got those red heifers sitting waiting, right? And the goal is, the intention is to sacrifice those red heifers, time it to go ahead and dig out underneath Al-Aqsa Mosque, and to go ahead and collapse that in, and then build their third temple where they're going to do their satanic sacrifices and openly display who they really serve. But we see this if you watch the media. They had the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. You remember that a couple years ago? I was in Birmingham. Remember that bull? Remember that bull? That's ball, man. They're openly displaying their satanic agenda, really. And this is one of the things that I think it would, again, be really wise to acknowledge. They do serve notice. I'm a firm believer that this is a natural law, God's law. If you intend to do harm to another group or another individual, you must serve notice of that intent. Now, if you serve notice, and I know I've done this, I've served notice to the United States government multiple times in renouncing my citizenship and all sorts of stuff. If you serve notice, and the other party does not voice any objection, then you have what's called tacit consent. You have just tacitly consented to your own destruction. The frightening truth is we have tacitly consented to our own destruction on multiple levels, which necessitates a remedy. And the only remedy, in my opinion, is first the truth. Only the truth. We don't know the truth enough. That's why we're so confused, so easily manipulated. When we understand the truth to a sufficient degree, and don't mistake the masses either. Me and the Sheikh were talking about this earlier. The vast majority of people, don't worry about them. Really, stop fixating on them, okay? It is the minority of people who have connected back to source, who have a higher purpose. We are the ones that matter. We are the ones that matter. We are the ones that will move the world. I, as a single individual, have an influence on this world. Each one of you is making a difference in this world, whether you realize it or not. By the way you drive, if you litter, if you help an old lady with her shopping, whatever you do, good or bad, has an impact on this world. Do not hide behind the excuse that I'm only one person, what can I do? That's a coward's way out. That's an excuse maker right there. That is the problem right there. When we all take account for our responsibility and our duty as men and women, we will win. We will. And if you have God behind you, as I believe most in this audience do, and myself and the Sheikh, and unstoppable. And the beauty of it is, even if I get tortured like Bolshevik style, trust me, I've contemplated all the things that my enemies will do to me. I don't think I'll get a quick death. I think it'll be quite painful, miserable, and prolonged. And if that be the case, so be it. If that is my fate, then it be God's will, and I will pay any price. I wish and I hope to live longer, and I would love to see this day that I'm working for, but make no mistake about it. We are sitting in the most incredible time in history, period. To be alive at this time is a great honor and a great responsibility. If you lived 50 years ago, sure, many events, very important. 100 years ago, too. Listen, we've had a lot of very, very very paradigm-shifting moments, but none more so than this. This is it. This is the big show. It's all or nothing. The writing has been on the wall a long time. People are engaging. Do not hide behind excuses. Understand that we are fighting Satan, Dajjal, and if they have their way, you will either be enslaved or you will be executed or imprisoned and put in a gulag in their communist utopian agenda. This is where we're going. And I believe, do I have a few more moments? Do I go over and make sure?
Nespresso Professional.
Fancy Feast. Culinary inspired. Cat adored. With a wide range of delicious recipes, Fancy Feast gives you more ways to show your love. Fancy Feast. Love is in the details.
I want to put out also, there's a couple of films that I highly recommend if you really want to understand history. One film is about 4.5 hours. And I encourage you not to believe the end conclusion of these films simply because I recommend them. What I encourage you to do is watch these films with a critical mind, right? As the Sheikh said, you do not just accept information because it is presented. You must think with a critical mind to try and assess whether this is valid and true. The first one, 4.5 hours roughly, is called The Greatest Story Never Told. Now that's a big title right there. There's a lot of great stories out there. Is this the greatest story never told? Well, make up your own mind and watch for yourself. And I can tell you this, if the film is as true as I know it will turn your understanding of history on its head. Guaranteed. The other film is a film that's even longer. The original version is 12 hours. I think now the edited versions are up to 15 hours. It's a film that I am the first person you see. I had nothing to do with the production of this film, but I am honored to be in it in more than one place. And this film, in the first half hour of this film, most will learn more about Palestine in the first half hour of this film than you probably learn from years of reading this, that, or the other. That's a big claim. The whole film is that full of important hidden knowledge, and this film is the most shadow banned. You cannot find it, you have to look for it, and it just goes to show how scared they are of the truth. And that film is called Europa, The Last Battle. And this is about a white genocide. How many of you know there's a white genocide going on out there? There is indeed. Not just white Christian. Oh, the Christians, there seems to be a special bit of attention on us Christians out there. They don't want us around, and we're dying out. So I'm going to try and continue to do my part to stay alive, and who knows, maybe procreate again. And let's make those babies because it's God's will. I know I see one young one here, but God bless all of you who are parents. This is challenging times. Europa, The Last Battle. I can't recommend it enough. Watch it with an open mind, with a critical mind, and I challenge anybody to get in touch with me and point out any fact, historical fact, or any historical claim within either one of these films that is incorrect. Honestly, I mean that. Like, please tell me. I don't want to have an echo chamber of, oh, I was right. Oh, yes, I'm right. This. No, show me where I'm wrong so that I can be better, more knowledgeable. I see a hand over there. Europa, it's Europa, and then it's The Last Battle. They're hiding it, so you'll be able to find it. But I believe I've used up the allotted time for myself, and I look forward to the questions. And once again, God bless all of you, and God bless the Sheikh. I mean, this beautiful man had a major heart attack only a few months ago, but it's quite clear to me God said, no, not your time. So let us cherish this time we have with him, and I certainly will. Thank you.